She cheated, gaslit me, and tried to sue me for support, but I showed up with receipts, walked out with my dignity, and left her to drown in her drama. I stood frozen by the bedroom doorway. She was toweling off like it was just another Tuesday. Her wet hair clung to her shoulders, her perfume mingled with the steam from the shower, and her voice, her voice, dripped with casual cruelty. "Darling," she said without even looking at me, "now that I got emotions from Mark, you may touch me." Touch her? After what I knew, after the message that had burned itself into my brain just minutes earlier? I didn't answer right away. I watched her like I was watching a wild animal I didn't recognize anymore, something wearing my wife's skin. Her name's Ashley, by the way. She used to be the woman I thought I'd grow old with. Now, she was just a beautifully wrapped betrayal. I took a breath. My voice came out low, like it had clawed its way out of my gut. "No need," I said. "I already know everything, and soon Mark's wife will too. In fact, I'm on my way to her right now." She finally turned around, and the smirk died on her face. I kept going. "Oh, and check your bank account. All you'll find there is zeros." She dropped the towel. "Aaron, what the far are you talking about?" That was the moment, right there. That was when the game flipped, and the truth stopped hiding. 2 days earlier, I was just a husband working overtime to make life good for a woman I didn't know had already left me in every way that mattered. I work in real estate, late nights, weekend calls, pressure to perform. It all came with the job. But I loved Ashley. I trusted her. I thought we were in this together. The first crack came last week. She started wearing makeup to the grocery store. I asked her about it. She laughed. "Oh, please, Aaron. I'm allowed to look decent outside, aren't I?" Of course she was, but something in her tone. It felt like a slap I wasn't supposed to flinch from. Then came the late-night walks. She'd leave in yoga pants and come back with her hair smelling like men's cologne. Said she needed time to clear her head. Once or twice, I believed it. After the 5th time, I started digging. And that's when I found the texts. She hadn't even bothered to use a nickname, just Mark. She wrote things like, "You feel like a vacation from real life. Aaron wouldn't understand what we have. I needed that. You made me feel again." I stared at the screen, shaking, not crying, not yet, just shaking, like my body didn't know how else to process this poison. Mark Davis, her gym friend, married, 2 kids. I'd met him, shook his hand at a barbecue, and laughed with him over beers. All this time, he was tearing into my life with a smile. But I didn't confront her right away. I wanted evidence. I wanted her to know she'd been caught with no escape hatch. So, I called a guy I knew, Trevor, a former client, now a private investigator. Within 48 hours, he had photos, Mark and Ashley at a motel on the edge of town, her legs wrapped around him in the parking lot, her face lit up in a way I hadn't seen in years. I didn't sleep that night, just watched the clock and planned every word of what I'd say. But then Ashley beat me to it with that line, now that I got emotions from Mark. She actually had the nerve to come back from a motel, shower off his sweat, and offer me leftovers like I was some kind of grateful mutt. That's when I snapped. That's when I told her about the bank accounts. She didn't know I'd been quietly moving our funds for weeks, preparing for a joint investment that never came. Everything was in my name, her cards shut down, her savings emptied. I walked out before she could finish screaming. My destination, Mark's house. I had the photos printed. I had screenshots, timestamps, and I knew his wife, Rachel, deserved the truth, just like I had. But what I didn't expect was who opened the door when I got there. It wasn't Rachel. It was Mark's teenage daughter, holding a phone in one hand and a bat in the other. "Are you Aaron?" she asked. I nodded. She stepped aside and said, "Mom's already crying in the kitchen. We found the texts. Come in." I didn't know it yet, but everything was about to explode. Mark's daughter, Emily, couldn't have been older than 16, but the look in her eyes, pure steel. She held the bat like she wasn't afraid to use it. I stepped inside cautiously, photos clutched tight in my hand. The house was silent except for a faint sound, someone sobbing in the kitchen. "Your mom, she already knows?" I asked. Emily nodded. She saw a message pop up on his phone when he left it on the table. She went digging, found it all. I found it too. Her voice cracked at the end. I realized just how much this betrayal had splintered, reaching even the kids. I wanted to be furious, to scream, but instead I just stood there, watching her tremble and grip that bat like it was her lifeline. I walked into the kitchen slowly, and there she was. Rachel, Mark's wife, curled on the floor like someone had gutted her, red eyes, shaking hands, tissues scattered like ash around her knees. When she looked up at me, there was recognition, pain. "Aaron," she whispered. I nodded, then knelt and gently set the printed photos on the floor between us, the motel, the texts, the timestamps. "I didn't know you already found out," I said quietly, "but I thought you deserved the full picture." She didn't even touch the photos, just stared at them. I think she'd already seen enough. They used to meet in my car, she mumbled. He told me he was going for runs, early mornings, but he was using my car to pick her up. That hit me hard. We sat in silence for a minute, two strangers bound together by a shared wound. I feel like my whole life was a lie, she said, gripping the edge of the counter to stand. I don't even know who I am without him. I looked her in the eye. You're someone who survived. That's who you are. That's when we heard the door slam. Rachel flinched. Emily came sprinting down the hall. He's home, she said, her voice full of panic. Mark walked in like nothing had happened, keys in one hand, gym bag in the other. When he saw me sitting in his kitchen, he froze. Aaron, he said, like he'd just run into me at a gas station. I stood slowly. Hey, Mark, got a minute? His face changed instantly, like he'd just been caught with a lit match in a house full of gasoline. Rachel crossed her arms, voice like ice. You might want to explain why your phone was full of pictures of you with Ashley. Mark stammered. Rachel, it's not what it looks like. I stepped in. No, Mark, it's exactly what it looks like. Motel receipts, texts, and, hey, you should have wiped your dashboard camera. Trevor got it all. Mark paled. You hired someone? Rachel shoved the photos into his chest. I gave you everything, Mark, and you chose that woman, that manipulative, narcissistic. She told me she wasn't happy, Mark interrupted. Said you were cold. Said Aaron didn't pay attention to her. Emily screamed, Stop lying! Her voice cracked the air like a gunshot. The bat fell from her hands with a thud, echoing through the house, and then silence again. Mark looked around, at his daughter's broken face, at Rachel's fury at me, and finally he spoke the truth. She said she was going to leave him. She said she wanted to be with me. I thought. He trailed off. I couldn't help myself. I laughed, bitter, hollow. You thought she'd leave me, bro? She didn't even wash her sin off before offering herself to me again. Mark's jaw clenched. You didn't. No, I snapped. I have self-respect. I turned to Rachel. I'll go now. I just wanted you to know. She nodded. Thank you. As I stepped out the door, Emily picked up the bat again, not in anger, in protection. I realized then Ashley's betrayal didn't just destroy our marriage. It lit a fuse I couldn't put out, and the explosion was only just beginning. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't. The thought of walking into that house, into that bed where she probably replayed every memory of him while lying next to me, made my skin crawl. Instead, I drove. No destination, just motion, trying to outrun the images burning through my brain. Ashley moaning into her phone at 2 a.m., Ashley smiling a little too wide whenever Mark's name came up, Ashley coming home freshly rinsed and offering herself to me like she was doing me a favor. Now that I got emotions from Mark, her words played on a loop, like a sadistic little jingle. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, knuckles white. My phone buzzed for the 50th time, her name ignored. I pulled into an empty parking lot by the lake, just sat there, no music, no noise, just silence and the occasional scream inside my chest. It wasn't even rage anymore, it was something colder, something final. That's when I made the call. Trevor, yeah, I want the apartment cleaned out tomorrow. You serious? Dead serious. Ashley had no idea, but the lease on our upscale downtown apartment was in my name only. She could play house all she wanted, but legally she was a guest, and her welcome had expired. The next morning I returned like a man on a mission. Not angry, not emotional, just calculated. Trevor and his guys were already there, boxing everything up that belonged to me, laptops, watches, documents, the espresso machine I bought, even the damned Dyson vacuum. Ashley's stuff, untouched. I wasn't going to be accused of being petty. Let her drown in her designer labels and her worthless lies. She walked in at 10:16 a.m., perfect timing, heels, sunglasses, Starbucks in hand, like this was just another glamorous day. Then she saw me. Her smirk flickered. Oh, you're home. Nope, I replied, just passing through. She glanced around at the boxes. You're being dramatic. What the hell is this? This, I said calmly, is me leaving you. Ashley's eyes narrowed. Is this supposed to scare me? No, it's supposed to free me. She threw her coffee into the sink hard enough to crack the ceramic. You're being dramatic, she hissed. Really? Says the woman who used my money to buy lingerie for a man who still lives with his kids. Her face flushed. That's none of your business. I cut her off. It became my business when you turned our marriage into a damn circus. Ashley crossed her arms, but her voice dropped into that sickeningly seductive tone she always used when she wanted something. I mean, do you really want to throw away everything over one mistake? I blinked. One mistake? She nodded, stepping closer, gently placing her hand on my chest. I let her. She smiled. We can fix this. Let's go to therapy or... I interrupted. Check your bank account. The smile vanished. What? I leaned in close, whispering in her ear like a final prayer. You lied, you cheated, you mocked me in my own home. So no, there's no therapy, there's no fixing, there's just consequences. She pushed me hard. You arrogant piece of sh... I laughed. Save it, Mark's wife already knows. Your little fairy tale's collapsing. Her mouth opened, closed, she didn't know what to say. For once, Ashley had no script. I left with my boxes, my dignity, my spine. Later that afternoon, I got a text. Aaron, you think you're winning, but you're nothing without me. You'll be begging me back in a month. I didn't reply, but I did take a screenshot. Because someday, when I'm finally whole again, I'll look back at that message and laugh. Because that wasn't love. That was war, and I was finally done surrendering. By the time I left the apartment, Ashley had probably torn the place apart. Knowing her, she would have stormed into the closet, thrown shoes, screamed at the mirror, maybe even called Mark to cry on his shoulder like she was the victim. Classic Ashley, a woman who could burn the house down and ask you why the fire hurt her feelings. I parked at a friend's place, Tyler, a guy I hadn't seen in months but who didn't ask questions. I told him everything, eventually, after a few beers and a long silence. He shook his head and said, man, she's toxic, a black hole in lipstick. Couldn't argue with that. I thought maybe after the blow-up, after exposing everything to Mark's wife, after emptying the joint accounts and making my exit, Ashley would simmer down. I was wrong. At exactly 8:03 a.m. The next morning, I got a call from my bank. She tried to access the shared emergency fund, the one I had already cleared out the day before. I answered the call on speaker. Yes, I told the rep, that account was closed. She no longer has access. I hung up and waited. 10 minutes later, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Ashley, 12 texts. What the hell is going on? Where is the money? I needed that to pay rent. You're being abusive. Do you think this makes you a man? I will call the police. Answer me. Don't ignore me, Aaron. I need to pay bills. This is financial control. You're sick. I hate you. You'll regret this. I stared at those messages like they were comedy sketches. Rent? I paid the last 4 months myself. Bills? She had a credit card I covered because her freelancing career mostly consisted of taking selfies and pretending she was working. What really killed me was how fast her tone switched from angry to manipulative to victim mode. She was trying every weapon she had left, but none of them worked anymore because I knew who she really was now. Around noon, I got a call I didn't expect, Rachel. Hey, she said softly. I know it's weird hearing from me, but I just wanted to thank you. I leaned against the wall. You don't need to. I hated being the messenger. Still, she said, I think I would have gone on pretending, living in a lie. You broke the illusion. We talked for a few minutes, nothing heavy, just two people who'd both been burned by the same fire. Before she hung up, she paused and said, if you ever want to grab coffee, not as a date, just as two people who know what betrayal tastes like, I'd be okay with that. It was the first decent moment I'd had in days. Later that evening, I pulled into the parking lot of the gym, not to work out, just to watch. And there she was, Ashley, sitting in Mark's car, crying, screaming into the dashboard. I couldn't hear the words, but I knew the fight. The look on Mark's face said it all, pure regret. I don't know if she told him I emptied the accounts. Maybe he finally realized she'd never leave a mess without trying to drag someone down with her. Either way, he was done. He shoved the door open, got out, and walked away without even looking back. Ashley chased him for a second, then stopped, dropped to the ground, covered her face. I stayed in my car. No gloating, no satisfaction, just peace, for the first time in months. When I got home, my new place, my new keys, my clean slate, I sat down, poured a drink, and checked my phone one last time. One final message from her. Aaron, I hope you're happy. You've ruined everything. I didn't reply. I turned off my phone, leaned back, and smiled to myself. No, Ashley, I whispered. You did that all by yourself. The next few days felt like that odd calm after a hurricane. Everything's still standing, but it's all shifted. Quiet, unfamiliar, but peaceful in a weird way. I had no calls from Ashley for 24 hours. No texts, no emails, not even a "you'll regret this" voicemail. At first, it felt like a trap, like she was building up to some explosive finale. I was right. It came on a Tuesday. I had just finished unpacking the last box at my new place, a modest condo far away from the poison walls of our old life. I was finally hanging up a framed photo of my dad and me at a fishing trip when someone started pounding on the front door like it owed them money. I peeked through the peephole, Mark looking like hell, eyes bloodshot, jaw twitching, hair matted like he hadn't slept in days. I opened the door slowly, ready for anything. He shoved past me. She's insane, he shouted, pacing the living room like a man on the edge. I shut the door behind him, arms crossed. You don't say. She told my wife we were getting married. She showed her a ring, man. I blinked. A ring? He nodded, said I gave it to her. Rachel lost her mind. She threw all my clothes in the yard and called her dad. I'm staying at a motel. I almost felt bad. Almost. I didn't give her a ring, Aaron, I swear on my kids. She bought that herself, told Rachel some twisted story that I proposed, and we were going to run away together. I sat down watching this guy unravel on my new couch. You really had no idea what she was capable of? He stopped pacing, looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. No, he said. I thought she was just exciting, you know, something different. You mean reckless, unstable, addicted to drama? He didn't answer. I lost everything, he muttered after a beat. My wife, my kids, my job. HR found out about the affair. I'm on indefinite leave. I leaned forward. And for what? Some stolen hotel room feelings and a woman who treats loyalty like a joke? Mark shook his head, face crumbling. She said she loved me. I couldn't help it. I laughed, loud, harsh. She loved you, Mark? She came home from you, dripping with guilt, and told me I could touch her because she already got her emotions from you. That's not love. That's sociopathy wrapped in lingerie. He sat down, buried his face in his hands. She's been texting me nonstop, he groaned, threatening to tell my boss more lies, saying if I don't take her back, she'll do something crazy. She won't, I said. She just needs an audience. Don't give her one. But I knew Ashley. If she felt cornered, she wouldn't just roll over. She'd claw, scream, light the room on fire if it meant people looked at her. And she wasn't done yet, not even close. That night, I got a message from an unknown number. You're ruining lives. You'll regret this. No name, no profile pic, but I didn't need a name. I knew that venom. Ashley. She burned everything down, and now she was mad at the ashes for not rebuilding themselves. Mark left after midnight, quieter this time, exhausted, defeated, a shadow of the smug guy who once smiled at my wife behind my back. As he walked out, he turned and asked, "What now?" I stared at the door as it closed behind him. Now I rebuild. But not with lies, not with masks, with truth. And if Ashley wanted to bring more fire, I'd let her, because I'd already walked through hell, and she forgot. Hell's got nothing left to burn when you're already made of ash. By Thursday, things went quiet again. Not peaceful quiet, just the eerie kind that makes your skin itch. I'd seen this before in Ashley, the fake calm, the silence before she dropped a nuke. She never let anything go without trying to twist the knife on her way out. And like clockwork, the detonation came the next day. It started with a knock. This time, it wasn't Mark. It was a courier. He handed me an envelope, asked me to sign, and then jogged back to his van like he just passed me a live grenade. I opened it with a knot in my stomach. Inside was a letter from Ashley's lawyer. She was filing for spousal support. I read it 3 times, just to be sure. Spousal support? From the woman who cheated, drained our account, and tried to seduce me after rolling around with another man? I couldn't help it. I laughed out loud, a wild, exhausted, you can't make this up kind of laugh. The kind that comes out when your soul gives up trying to reason with insanity. I called my attorney, Samantha. She's fierce, sharp, and doesn't take crap from anyone, especially not walking disasters like Ashley. She's actually filing for alimony? I asked. Samantha didn't even blink. We expected this. She cheated. She'll claim emotional distress. She'll cry in court, twist timelines, and fake therapy receipts. But we've got texts, pictures, bank records, surveillance footage. She's swinging wild now. That means we're winning. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. What kind of person lights a fire and then sues the people she burned? Ashley, she replied flatly. Fair. Later that night, I got another surprise. I was out grabbing groceries, milk, coffee, eggs, boring life reset stuff, when I caught sight of someone near my car in the parking lot. It was Ashley, leaning against my hood like it was her runway, red lips, tight black dress, that fake smile mask she wore when she wanted to pretend nothing happened. Hey, stranger, she purred. I stopped in my tracks, keys in hand. I'm calling security, I said. She rolled her eyes. Aaron, don't be dramatic. You served me papers. You burned this to the ground, and now I'm trying to talk like adults. I stepped closer. You mean manipulate like always? Her smile faltered for a second, but only for a second. You know, she said, circling around the car toward me, you're not exactly innocent in all this. I raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? You were gone all the time, always working, always tired. You stopped appreciating me. There it was, the classic Ashley defense, turning her betrayal into my fault. I laughed. So, because I was building our future, paying the bills, and covering your shopping sprees, I deserved to be cheated on? You made me feel invisible, she snapped. Mark made me feel seen. Mark made you feel like a new toy until he got bored. That hit. Her face twisted. She stepped forward too close now. You think you've won, she whispered. But without me, you're just a lonely, bitter man hiding behind lawyers and lies. No, I said calmly, pulling out my phone. I'm a man who finally saw the truth, and I'm not hiding. I took a picture of her. She flinched. This is for court, I added, proof of harassment. Her voice dropped to a hiss. You're playing with fire. I leaned in close, just enough so only she could hear me. I'm fireproof now. She stood there for a second, chest rising, lip trembling. Then she turned around, heels clicking angrily, and stormed off into the night. I sat in the car for a moment after. No music, just the hum of streetlights and my pulse finally slowing. Ashley had declared war, but I had already won the only battle that mattered. I had my freedom. And this time, I wasn't giving it up for anyone. The courtroom was colder than I expected, not physically but emotionally. It was the kind of space where truth came to die, buried under polished shoes, fake tears, and rehearsed testimonies. I sat next to Samantha, suit pressed, face calm, heart pounding. Across from me was Ashley. She looked stunning. Of course she did. That was part of the act. Perfect hair, soft makeup, a modest blouse that made her look like the picture of heartbreak. Her eyes sparkled, not from tears but from the thrill of performance. This was her show. She always loved being center stage. She avoided my gaze, but every so often I caught her peeking at me, waiting to see if I'd crack. I didn't. The judge, a tired-looking woman in her 50s with the kind of eyes that had seen every lie in the book, called our case the alimony hearing. Ashley's lawyer started with a soft, almost poetic monologue. Ashley had been emotionally neglected. She had no stable income due to the trauma of her marriage. She had no access to funds and was now forced into instability. Samantha leaned in and whispered, "She's laying it on thick. Wait till we bury her." Then Ashley took the stand. She spoke like she was reading from a romance novel gone wrong. "I gave everything to the marriage," she said, voice trembling, "but Aaron, he changed. He became cold, distant. I felt invisible. I never wanted to hurt him. I just needed to feel something again." I almost laughed. The judge asked, "Did you have an extramarital relationship with Mr. Davis?" Ashley hesitated. "It wasn't physical at first," she paused, swallowed, "but yes, eventually." "And during that time, did Mr. Thompson continue to financially support you?" "Yes, but he didn't know how to love me anymore." Samantha stood up like a lioness ready to pounce. "Ashley," she began sweetly, "did you buy a ring and tell Mr. Davis's wife that he proposed?" "Objection." "Overruled." Ashley blinked. "That was a misunderstanding. Did you use Mr. Thompson's credit card to pay for hotel rooms with another man?" Pause. "We shared finances." "Did you text your husband after returning from one of those encounters that now he could touch you since you'd already got emotions from Mark?" Dead silence. Ashley stared at her hands. "No further questions," Samantha said. "We had texts, photos, video surveillance. We even had the motel receipts with timestamps that matched her GPS." The judge took it all in, calm, neutral, deadly. And just like that, Ashley's case collapsed like a house of cards. The judge ruled, no alimony. Ashley blinked in disbelief, like the spell she'd cast had suddenly broken, and the mirror was showing her real face. As we left, she called after me, "Aaron!" I turned, not for her, for closure. She stood in the hallway of the courthouse, eyes no longer sparkling, just bloodshot, hollow. "You ruined everything." I looked at her for what felt like the last time. "No," I said, "you did." Then I walked away. Outside, the air was fresher than it had any right to be. I got into my car, loosened my tie, and stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror. I didn't look broken. I looked alive. This wasn't just the end of a marriage. It was the death of illusion. For the first time in years, I wasn't someone's backup plan, wallet, or emotional punching bag. I was free. That night, I got a message from Rachel, coffee still on the table. And for the first time since everything collapsed, I said, yes. Rachel picked the cafe, small, quiet, and far enough out of town that no one would recognize either of us. She was already sitting there when I walked in, hands wrapped around a cup of tea like it was the only thing holding her together. When she saw me, she smiled, a real smile, not the forced kind, not the kind I'd gotten used to with Ashley. "I wasn't sure you'd come," she said. "I wasn't either," I admitted, sitting down across from her. "But here I am." She nodded. "Same." For a while, we didn't talk about them. We talked about coffee, work, kids, life, the small, ordinary things that felt like miracles after months of deception. But eventually, the topic circled back, inevitable, like gravity. "I saw her yesterday," Rachel said softly, staring into her cup, "at the gym. She tried to act like nothing happened, like she and I were just two old friends who had a disagreement." I shook my head. "That sounds like her." She said Mark was confused, that it was all a misunderstanding. I laughed. Ashley could stand in a burning house and still insist the fire was just mood lighting. Rachel chuckled. It was the first time I'd seen her laugh, even just a little. You know, she said, I used to envy her. That surprised me. Why? She was always the loudest in the room, so confident, so sure of herself. I thought maybe that's what men want, that chaos, that energy. Confidence isn't chaos, I said, and real men don't want women who treat love like a weapon. She looked up at me, clearer than before. So, what do they want? I thought about it, about everything Ashley had never been, about everything I'd needed and ignored. Peace, I said. Not boredom, not silence, just peace. A place to land when the world gets loud. She looked at me for a long time after that. We stayed at the cafe until it closed. Then we stood by our cars under the dim parking lot light. Not close, not flirty. Just two survivors breathing in the night air like it didn't hurt anymore. You think they'll end up together? Rachel asked. I laughed. They'll implode. Ashley can't stand still long enough to build anything real, and Mark's too spineless to stop her. She smirked. Guess we dodged a bullet. I opened my car door. We didn't dodge it, Rachel. We got shot point blank. We just survived. She smiled again, softer this time.
Then maybe that's our superpower.
A week later, I got a letter from Ashley. It wasn't handwritten, too personal for her. It was typed, probably drafted 5 times to make sure it sounded measured. She wrote that she was moving to California, said she needed a fresh start, said she hoped someday we could be friends. I didn't reply. There's a difference between closure and reopening wounds. It's been 3 months now. I'm still rebuilding, still learning how to be alone without feeling lonely. I got a new couch, a new routine, a life that doesn't revolve around someone else's moods or needs. I even reconnected with old friends, people Ashley had pushed away subtly over time. It's funny how you don't see the isolation happening until the walls are already up. As for Rachel, we still meet sometimes. No labels, no pressure, just 2 people finding comfort in real conversations and honest silences. If you're reading this and going through something similar, here's what I'll say. You'll survive. It won't be clean. It won't be easy. But the version of you that walks out the other side, stronger, smarter, sharper, and best of all, free. Because loving someone who lies, manipulates, and betrays isn't love. It's war. And when it's finally over, you don't rebuild what burned. The Napa air was soft, carrying the scent of blooming vines as I sat on my porch, a glass of Cabernet in hand. The sun dipped below the hills, painting the sky in hues of amber and violet. Lena's laughter drifted from the kitchen where she was attempting a new recipe, her voice mingling with Max's playful barks. This was my life now, quiet, honest, built from the ground up after Brittany's betrayal. No more lies, no more nights wondering if I was enough. Just peace, hard-won and fiercely guarded. The weeks after that realization were a steady unfolding. Mornings began with runs through the vineyard, Max trotting beside me, the rhythm of my steps syncing with a heart no longer weighed by her shadow. I'd return to find Lena sketching at the table, her quiet focus a contrast to Brittany's chaos. Work was thriving. My tech ventures expanded into AI-driven sustainability projects, earning respect from peers who once saw me as the guy who got screwed over. I didn't correct them. My success spoke louder than their whispers. Lena and I grew closer, not rushing but building, each moment a choice to be present. We'd spend evenings exploring Napa's hidden spots, tasting rooms, farmers markets, trails where we talk about everything from philosophy to bad 90s movies. She didn't flinch when I shared Brittany's story, didn't try to fix me. You didn't break, she said one night, her hand on mine. You bent, then grew stronger. That stuck, a reminder I wasn't defined by betrayal but by what I'd done with it. Brittany's name faded into obscurity. My lawyer, Sarah, sent a final update. Brittany's appeal was denied, her sentence upheld. Trevor was out on parole, working some dead-end job, his real estate dreams buried under legal fees. I didn't care. Their downfall wasn't my victory, my life was. I stopped checking for her shadow, stopped bracing for her next move. She was a closed book, its pages irrelevant to my story. I started mentoring at a local startup incubator, sharing lessons from my journey, not just the tech wins, but the personal ones. One kid, Alex, asked how I'd survive the worst thing someone could do to you. I thought about Brittany's laugh as she threw my suits into the rain. You don't survive it, I said. You outgrow it. Keep building, even when it hurts. He nodded, scribbling in his notebook, and I saw myself in him. Hungry, hurt, but ready to rise. One evening, Lena and I hosted a small dinner for friends, Luke, Mia, a few from the vineyard community. The table was alive with laughter, clinking glasses, stories that didn't carry her ghost. After dessert, Lena pulled me aside, her eyes bright. You're different here, she said, nodding toward the group. Not guarded, just you. I kissed her, slow and sure, grateful for a love that didn't demand I prove myself. A month later, I got a letter from Brittany's mother, forwarded through Sarah. It was brief, Nathan. I'm sorry for what she did. She's lost, but you're not. Keep going. I read it once, folded it, and tucked it away. It didn't heal anything. It didn't need to. My freedom was mine, forged in the fire of her lies, polished by my choices. As fall deepened, my vineyard home felt complete. Lena's sketches on the walls, Max's toys scattered, my books mixed with hers. I stood on the porch one night, the stars sharp above, and thought about the man I'd been, broken, betrayed, clinging to a woman who'd never deserved me. He'd saved me by walking away, by choosing truth over heartbreak. The scars were there, proof I'd fought and won. And as the night stretched out, I raised a glass to him, to Lena, to the life I'd built, unshakable, real, and gloriously free.